If you're just beginning to explore the world of synthesizers, you probably feel like this at the moment. Let's whittle all this down to just 5 key elements: oscillators, amplitude envelope, filters, LFOs, and effects. Now don't worry if these words don't really make any sense right now, they will very soon. Element number 1, oscillators. Let's imagine that in this room, there's a singer continuously singing a note. Now, we can also tell our singer or our oscillator how to sing the note. In this case, we're listening to a sine wave, which is a very soft, a very mellow sound. We could also choose triangle. Still a pretty soft sound, but a bit more texture to it. We can also try square. More harsh, but also more hollow at the same time. Let's try sawtooth. Sort of more of a buzz with lots more texture. Let's try noise just for a bit. Yeah, let's stick with triangle for now so our ears don't get too tired. We can also tell what pitch to sing the note at by using a knob, a switch, or a keyboard. Element number 2, amplitude envelope. Think of this door as a sort of gate that lets the sound of the oscillator reach us when we press a key on the keyboard. Most envelopes have controls labeled A, D, S, R. They stand for attack, decay, sustain, and release. In the context of this door, attack would be how long it takes us to open the door. Decay would be how long it takes us to partially close the door. Sustain would be where we leave the door while the key is still pressed on the keyboard. And release would be how long it takes us to close the door once the key has been released. The simplest form of an envelope is having everything else turned down except for sustain, so that when you press a key, the door opens instantly, and then when you let go of that key, the door closes instantly. If we didn't want that ending to be so abrupt, we could turn up the release, which makes the door close more slowly after we've let go of the key. If we wanted to open the door slowly, we would turn up the attack. If we wanted the door to close partially while still holding down the key, we would increase decay and reduce sustain. If we wanted a super short and sharp note, we would want the door to open instantly and then close quite quickly. We would turn all other settings down except for decay, and messing around with the decay timing would determine just how short and sharp that note would be. Let's move on to element 3, filter. Imagine that this door is made of paper. A lot of the sound would come through. Now imagine this door is made of stone. Not much of the sound would come through at all. In fact, you'd probably only hear the super low frequencies, like when you're standing outside a nightclub and you can hear the music from the inside going doof, 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 doof. Imagine that we can transition smoothly from the door being made of paper to the door being made of stone. The thing that's moving here is called the filter cutoff. Now, let's imagine we get a pipe or a tube of some kind, and we put it up to the door, and we put our ear to it and take a listen. The part of the sound right before the cutoff frequency is emphasized, more resonant and ringing. You can listen to more of this or less of this. Let's move on to element number 4, LFOs. LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. Now, they're not quite like the oscillators that we looked at before. They're more like invisible hands that move controls back and forth while you concentrate on playing. You can pretty much map or tell these invisible hands to control whatever parameter that your synthesizer allows. Some common settings that you can tell these invisible hands to move back and forth pitch. You could tell these invisible hands to move the filter cutoff frequency. You can tell them to do a bunch of things all at once as well, so you can get pretty crazy with it if the synth lets you. So moving on from our LFO helping hands, let's look at element number 5, effects. Think of effects as like the icing on the cake. They have the potential to just elevate your synth sound to another level. Some common effects include reverb to emulate a space that you would hear the sound in, delay for repeating the notes that you play, chorus for adding a sort of chimey texture to the sound. You could even add distortion, which can make the sound sort of a bit warmer, but if you really crank it, it can sound pretty gnarly. Some analog synthesizers don't have effects built in, but that doesn't mean you can't add them later in the signal chain. You could always put some guitar pedals after your analog synth if you want, or maybe you could record it and then add those effects in your computer in a digital audio workstation, a DAW. Any sort of post-processing to a synth can just take it to a whole new dimension. I hope this video helped give you a better understanding of how synthesizers work. The possibilities are pretty limitless, so the best way to learn is to get your hands on one and just mess around with it. The synthesizer I used for today's demonstrations is called Helm. It was made by an absolute legend called Tytel. He makes open source synthesizers. He's more known for making one called Vital. But if you're just getting started, probably go download Helm first, and when you're comfortable with that, give Vital a go. And while you're at it, go support Tytel for making such awesome synthesizers. Go make some crazy sounds. We'll see you next time.